Perfect. Let's it's going to be audio only, but we got Dave Jackson. He's of ESPN. He is also a former NHL official. He knows all this stuff. When you and I sit here and debate goalie interference, we don't know what we're talking about. Dave does know what he's talking about. Dave, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Very good. All right, let's get into it. We got a couple of clips. We want to pick your brain a little bit and educate us and our listeners on the goalie interference thing, because we're Oilers fans. We're a little biased. We think everything should count for the Oilers, but let's start with the one against Calgary. And this is the one that I think got most people the most fired up. And it's this goal here we're going to look at. Corey Perry in front of the net. I see this as a guy screening the goalie. What parts of this make it goalie interference?
Well, it's actually really simple. The crease is 3D. The crease goes all the way up to the crossbar. He's standing in the crease. You're not allowed to be in the crease. Well, if we go back to like year 2000, the toe in the crease rule that everybody hated, right? You know, goals were being taken back where they had zero effect because the guy was in the crease. So you are allowed to be in the crease while a goal is scored. You just can't be impeding the goaltender. So in this case here, the goaltender was not allowed to get to the top of the crease. Corey Perry was planted in the crease. He's breaking the plane on his own. He's not pushed right there. He's breaking the plane. He's in the crease. The goalie tries to get up to the top of his crease. He can't. That's a textbook no goal. To be quite honest, I'm amazed that people are disputing this call and can't figure it out. That is textbook.
Yeah, so I guess what's interesting there and what I maybe just learned is the idea of viewing it through the lens of the crease being 3D, because I think some people sit there and go, and maybe myself included in those some people, go, well, his feet aren't fully in the crease. But what you're saying is if your ass is in the crease and leaning over and making contact, it's the exact same thing.
Correct. And the same goes for the goaltender. If the goaltender's feet are in the crease, but his upper, let's say he's lying on his stomach, and his feet and waist are in the crease, but his upper body is outside the crease trying to make a save, and he gets incidentally contacted, that's not goalie interference. He's not in the crease. So if you picture, I guess the easiest analogy I can give, if you're in an apartment building and you're leaning out the window and you're from the waist up, you're leaning out the window, yeah, your feet are in the building, but your upper body is not in the building. You're outside the building. You're hanging outside the window. And that's how the crease works. The crease goes up 4 feet to the crossbar. So if you break that plane at any point in those 4 feet, you're either in or outside the crease. It doesn't matter necessarily where your skates are.
Okay. So I like that explanation, because when you hear that, it makes the Hyman goal that got waved off, or the Bouchard goal where Hyman interfered, it makes that one look even more clear cut to me, because I mean, Hyman cuts through and he is like right in there. And I think there's even more significant contact made in this one. I also find it interesting. And this is something someone brought up in the chat, but usually, Dave, goalies are very, very quick. If they're interfered with in the slightest, to throw the arms up and be looking at the refs. Vladar on that first one didn't. He kind of just sat there and was like, oh, darn, it went in. But when you were an official, did you ever have a moment where you like rolled your eyes at a goalie who was like trying crazy hard to sell something?
Well, yeah. I mean, let's go back to this goal. This goal is exactly the same as the Corey Perry goal. He goes into the blue on his own. He breaks the plane, makes contact. Goalie can't do his job. It's a textbook. If you were going to make a video link of what's goalie interference, both these goals are goalie interference. And I really don't understand anybody complaining about them. As far as goalies, I mean, their reaction, yeah, sometimes if you're on the ice, I mean, I didn't have the ability of a coach's challenge until my final season. I would have loved a coach's challenge throughout my career, because I would have got a lot more calls, right? But yeah, goalies always think they're interfered with. And, you know, a lot of times there's contact, whether it's a D-man pushing them in, it's their own defenseman making contact or whatever. So you really can't go by the goaltender's reaction. But you're right. In this one, he reacts right away. He's like, hey, what happened? I just got interfered with.
I like that you bring up the idea of you wish you had it earlier, because I'm sure it would have led to a lot less abuse, if that's the right word. If you could have just been like, hey, man, if you feel so strongly, challenge this thing. Like, don't sit here and yell at me. Like, come on, back it up.
Oh, exactly. I can't tell you. Whether it's that or whether it's major penalties for high sticking or something, the number of times throughout my career where I absolutely thought I made the right call, and it wasn't until after the game and I watched it and I went, ooh, geez, I wish we could have taken a look at that.
So when the refs go up and grab the iPad, I think it's been made clear the last week or so to us, and that Toronto is the one making those decisions. So do the refs have any involvement at all, or do they basically just stand there and listen with the headphones and watch it on the iPad?
It's a little bit of both. So it used to be when it came in. So when it came in my final season, we actually made the call on the ice. We'd look at it and we'd either overrule ourselves or confirm the call we made. And it wasn't ideal in the sense that nobody had a problem overruling themselves. You want to get the call right. The issue was you had 36 different opinions on what goalie interference is and isn't. So they decided to centralize that and have the situation room make all the calls, because it's only a group of 3 or 4 people every night making that same call over and over and over. When the officials come now to get the iPad, they're kind of there in a consulting role. Toronto makes the final decision, but they will ask questions because video is not always conclusive. There's underwriting things, not so much on these 2 plays, but there are calls where you'll see a forward sort of over the line, kind of making incidental contact, and you're saying to yourself, was that contact incidental or was it egregious enough to disallow the goal? And they'll say to the referee, like, what was your thinking of that? And this is more when the goaltender's outside the crease, because when he's outside the crease, incidental contact's allowed. You still can't run him over when he's outside the crease. So he's protected to a certain degree. So they might say to the referee, they go, listen, he was outside the crease. We're thinking it's incidental contact, but what do you think? And the referee might say, listen, I've warned that forward 3 times tonight. I told him he's bumping the goalie, and the next time he does it, it's going to cost him. And he does it, and they scored, so that's why I disallowed the goal. And that situation, I'm like, oh, that's good context that we didn't know. So that makes that contact look more egregious now since you've warned him 3 times. But in these kind of cases here, where he's standing in the crease, the referees are pretty much just looking at it and agreeing with the situation room, saying, yeah, we think you're right. But the second one, they didn't even go to the situation room. The referee called that off in real time. That was Corey Sabret. That was a great call to make in real time, because those calls aren't easy. They're bang, bang plays.
Yeah, and I do think there's a lot of fans who maybe sit there and go, well, just always call it a goal on the ice, and then if they want to overturn it, they'll overturn it. But I think you're right. Like, to see that in real time is good. I have one more thing on goalie interference, and then there's one other thing I want to pick your brain on, but it's the wording and the definition of it. Is there anything you think the league can do to make this a little bit more black and white versus the kind of gray area some people seem to think it is, or do they already do a good job at that?
I think it's written very well, because I don't think you want it black and white. Going back to what I said earlier, the toe in the crease rule, that was black and white. Everybody hated it, and for good reason. We had goals that were disallowed constantly that should have been good goals. So I think this leaves enough of a gray area for judgment to be utilized by either the referee on the ice or the hockey people. I mean, the hockey operations people know what they're doing in Toronto. I know they get a lot of criticism, but I mean, these guys know what they're doing. And I mean, they live and breathe the game, and they live and breathe it they die with every call they make. Like, they want to be right. They want to be right. So I think the way the rule is written, there's enough gray area in it to override situations or calls and allow goals that should be good goals. And I think if you go to the NHL.com, they have a video rulebook. They have a link, video rulebook, NHL.com. There's about an 8-minute video on goalie interference, and it's extremely informative to anybody that wants to go and watch that. I mean, it's really good.
Do you want to do?
I want to do the Mishkov goal.
Kelsey, because this was a hot debate between the 2 of us the other day. You were very much in the camp of he pushed his pad and then the puck went in. I looked at it more as a loose puck, that kind, like his pad never got pushed into the net.
But then isn't that also interference? He's prevented from making the save. Like, what's your take on this one, Dave?
Well, if you go back to the rule book, it is actually explicitly written in there that incidental contact with the goaltender can be made while battling for a loose puck that's in the crease. So that's how I saw the Mishkov goal. The puck was loose in the crease. He's battling for the puck. He's not pushing the pad per se. He's whacking at the puck and hitting the pad. He never pushes the pad across the line. He pushes the pad east-west versus north-south as he's slapping at the puck. Slapping at the puck, it's loose. He's trying to bat the puck into the net. He makes contact with the pad as he does it. There was a call about an hour earlier in Vancouver where the Tampa Bay player actually put the stick on the pad, pushed the pad across the line to allow the puck to cross the line. That's a different scenario.
Yeah, I think I get that distinction there, the east-west versus north-south.
And
that makes sense.
I do think part of this one too, excuse me, is you can't really see the puck. Like the puck might have already been in before he even touches Skinner, which is part of it as well. But
Stuart Skinner wearing those dang dark pads, making it hard to see where the puck is, that guy. Okay, last area just quickly before we wrap this up is I actually wanted to talk about Stuart Skinner a little bit. There were a couple of plays involving him behind the net over the last 2 games. There was one with Couturier where he got rolled over and then Couturier eventually had to go fight Troy Stetcher. Then there was this one where Backlund gave him a whack on the leg and Skinner went down in a heap. Skinner gave the refs an earful as he was skating off the ice as well. What can you maybe just explain, like, in what ways is the goalie protected in the trapezoid and in what ways is he maybe not?
Well, the goaltender has no... He's protected in the crease, in the blue crease. He's protected. When he wanders over the blue crease, the trapezoid has no bearing on it. He's considered out of the crease. Having said that, he's not fair game. You can't run the goaltender over. You can't make deliberate contact with the goaltender. You know, I mean, I feel bad because I've gone against the disallowed goals. Oiler fans are going to be thinking I'm just bad. I mean, I want to give them a little bit of a win. They probably could have called the slashing penalty on that play. However, he's shooting the puck. There's enough, you know, deniability. The player's reaching around to play the puck. But when you see it from that angle, it looks kind of deliberate. I don't know how hard it was, whether it really deserved that much of a reaction, but I'm not going to get in Stuart Skinner's head. I mean, he's got no padding there. Benefit of the doubt, it probably could have been a slashing penalty.
And the other one, like he steps, like that one, I think even the biggest Oilers homer in the world, like Stuart Skinner steps in front of him. So what you're saying as well is it doesn't matter that he's the goalie or not because he's no longer in his crease. If he's going to step in front of the guy has his lane set, right?
See, I think in that one you just showed, you could see him move back towards his crease and then decide to stop and change his position. Oh, I'm going to go back and make this hard for Couturier. And Couturier didn't change his line. If Couturier had changed his line and, you know, elevated into him with his shoulder, I think that would be a penalty. In this case, he's turning. He doesn't change his line. Skinner causes that contact. I think that was a good non-call by the referee.
He definitely moved.
Yeah, and then I think he sold it a little bit on top of that too. But Stuart Skinner maybe getting a bit of a reputation. Dave, this was awesome, man. So informative. I really enjoyed a couple of the little things like the east-west and the north-south on the pad. This helped us, and I think it helped the listeners as well, even if a couple of them think you're an Oilers hater.
You know what? Every fan base in the league thinks I hate their team. So, you know, one more is not going to matter.
There you go. Dave, appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks.
Anytime, guys. Thanks.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.